You know that enduring mystery of Atlantis? That city swallowed by the sea? It's always fascinated me. And it turns out it might be more than just a myth. You sent in some incredible research on the Minoans, the ancient civilization that flourished on Crete. And their story might hold the key to unlocking this age-old enigma. So, get ready to dive deep. Because we're going to explore not just what happened to the Minoans, but why their disappearance still matters to us today.
It's a story that's as captivating as it is relevant. Think of it this way. The Minoans, they weren't just surviving, they were flourishing. They had paved roads, intricate architecture, exquisite art, and even developed Linear A, the first written language in Europe.
Wait, so they were essentially Europe's first advanced civilization?
Precisely. They were a maritime superpower, rivaling even the mighty Egypt. But here's where it gets really interesting. Their culture had this captivating otherness to it. They worshipped snake priestesses, potentially practiced human sacrifice, and their origins are linked to ancient Iran.
Wow, that's so different from the ancient Greeks we usually learn about.
Exactly. And that difference is crucial, because those practices directly fed into some of the most famous Greek myths. Think about the Minotaur lurking in the labyrinth. That story is deeply rooted in how the Greeks perceived, and perhaps feared, the Minoans.
So their myths are basically echoes of the Minoans. That's incredible. But there's this huge mystery surrounding them. They vanished from history. For a long time, people thought it was a massive earthquake or a brutal invasion. What really happened?
Well, in the 1930s, a Greek archaeologist named Spiridon Marinatos had a groundbreaking theory. He believed the Minoans were wiped out by the volcanic eruption on Thera, the island we now know as Santorini.
I've seen pictures of Santorini. It's stunning. But wasn't that eruption way too far away to impact the Minoans on Crete?
Thera, located about 70 miles north of Crete, was home to a bustling Minoan city called Crete. Imagine a thriving seaport, a snapshot of Minoan life at its peak. We even have these remarkably well-preserved wall paintings from Crete that show a peaceful, almost idyllic existence.
Sounds beautiful, a real lost paradise.
Yes, until around 1600 BC, when the volcano erupted. And not just any eruption, but one of the largest in human history. Millions of tons of ash and rock were blasted into the atmosphere.
Wow, a true cataclysm. But if Thera is that far from Crete, how did it lead to the downfall of the Minoans? Did the ash cloud cover the entire region?
That's the fascinating part. While the eruption devastated Thera, it didn't directly hit the major Minoan cities on Crete. The destruction came from something even more powerful, a tsunami. Fast forward a few decades to the eastern coast of Crete, to a town called Palikastro. There, archaeologists found a jumbled mess, chaotic layers of soil, broken pottery, building materials, even cattle bones, all tossed about by some immense force.
That sounds like the aftermath of a massive wave. But how did they know for sure it was a tsunami?
This is where the science gets really cool. A soil scientist named Hendrik Bruins teamed up with archaeologist Sandy McGillivray to analyze the soil. They found microscopic organisms that are typically found only on the ocean floor.
So basically, the ocean floor ended up on land. That's the only way those organisms could be there.
Right, exactly. It was undeniable proof that a massive tsunami had struck Palikastro. And to solidify the link, they found Theran pumice mixed in with the debris. Volcanic rock that could only have come from Thera, carried by a powerful waves. Even a cow bone found in the sediment was carbon dated to around 1600 BC, the exact time of the Thera eruption. It's like a giant puzzle where all the pieces fit perfectly.
Okay, so we have the Thera eruption triggering a devastating tsunami that slams into Crete. But did it completely wipe out the Minoans?
Not immediately. It was a crippling blow, though. Their coastal towns were ravaged, trade networks disrupted, and their sense of security shattered. Imagine the impact on a civilization built on maritime prowess.
Yeah.
It's like their foundation was suddenly ripped away.
That makes sense. But it was a single tsunami. Even one as destructive as this, enough to cause the total collapse of their civilization. It seems like they could have rebuilt.
Right. That's a great question. And it leads us to another intriguing chapter in the Minoan story. What's really interesting is that archaeologists started uncovering evidence of deliberate destruction on Crete. But this destruction took place decades after the tsunami.
Hold on. So, we have a tsunami weakening the Minoans, and then years later, evidence of targeted attacks. That doesn't sound like a coincidence.
It doesn't, does it? For instance, in Palikastro, they found this exquisitely crafted ivory statue that had been intentionally vandalized. This wasn't random looting. It seemed like a symbolic attack on Minoan culture. And it's dated to a century after the tsunami.
Someone else came in and delivered the final blow, so to speak. But who? Did they ever figure that out?
Well, That's where the evidence from a cemetery in Chania comes into play. The bodies buried there date back to this time of unrest, and their weapons tell a fascinating story. They weren't Minoan weapons. They resembled those used by the Mycenians, the Greeks from the mainland.
Wait, are you saying the Mycenians? The civilization that gave us the Odyssey and the Iliad. They took advantage of the chaos after the tsunami to invade Crete.
The evidence certainly suggests that. Similar findings near Knossos, the largest Minoan palace, further support the invasion theory. It seems the Mycenians, who were already a rising power, saw an opportunity and seized it.
So the tsunami, while not the immediate cause, set off a chain of events that led to the Minoans' downfall. They were weakened, vulnerable, and then got conquered.
Precisely. It's a classic example of how natural disasters can have far-reaching consequences, reshaping the political landscape and leaving civilizations vulnerable to opportunistic rivals.
This is already so much more complex and fascinating than I ever imagined, but I can't help but think back to that Atlantis connection. Could the Minoan collapse be the real-life inspiration for that legendary lost city?
Now, that's where things get even more interesting. Remember how Plato described Atlantis? A sophisticated naval power, swallowed by the sea after a catastrophic flood. It's almost eerie how closely that aligns with what happened to the Minoans.
It does send shivers down your spine, doesn't it? While they weren't literally submerged in a single day, the tsunami was a pivotal moment. Their maritime empire, their lifeblood, was crippled, leaving them exposed and paving the way for their conquest.
It's like a real-life echo of that mythical tale.
Right.
And think about those Greek myths we discussed earlier. The Minotaur, the Labyrinth. Those stories likely gained even more significance after the Minoans were gone.
Almost like trying to make sense of this vanished civilization, their fears, fascination, all woven into myth.
Exactly. It's human nature to try and explain the unexplainable. But the Minoan story isn't just about ancient history. It offers some pretty powerful lessons for us today.
That's what I find so compelling about these deep dives. We're not just uncovering the past, we're learning from it. So, what can the Minoans teach us?
On one level, it's a stark reminder of nature's raw power to shape civilizations. The Thera eruption was cataclysmic, but it was the tsunami that delivered the knockout punch. It makes you realize the forces we're up against, even with all our modern technology.
It's humbling, for sure. And it makes you wonder, are there other lost cities out there waiting to be discovered? Civilizations that met their end in similar natural disasters, buried beneath the waves or lost to time?
It's entirely possible. Just look at how much we've learned about the Minoans in recent decades. New archaeological discoveries are constantly reshaping our understanding of the past.
And think about the Atlantis myth itself, dismissed as pure fantasy for centuries. But now, knowing about the Minoans, it has a whole new level of plausibility. It speaks volumes about the power of stories, how they can hold echoes of real events, even if distorted or embellished over time.
What's truly fascinating is how those stories can ignite our curiosity, leading us to uncover the truths, even centuries or millennia later. The Minoan collapse is a prime example of that.
So, not only have we unearthed the captivating history of the Minoans, their rise and fall, but we've also gained a fresh perspective on the Atlantis myth and the profound influence of nature on our world. It's mind-blowing.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is, even across millennia.
Exactly. And who knows what mysteries we'll uncover next time. It really makes you appreciate those who dedicate their lives to unraveling these mysteries.
Absolutely. Think about the archaeologists, scientists, and historians, painstakingly piecing together these puzzles. It's their passion and dedication that connect us to the past in such meaningful ways.
And their work goes beyond just digging up artifacts. They're uncovering stories, understanding how past events shaped our world. And maybe, just maybe, they're finding clues to solve those age-old mysteries that still captivate us.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if one day, thanks to their efforts, we find definitive proof of whether the Minoan collapse truly inspired the Atlantis legend.
That would be incredible. Until then, I guess we'll keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the fascinating stories that history offers. This deep dive into the world of the Minoans has been truly eye-opening. Their achievements, their demise, and the potential connection to Atlantis. It's all so captivating.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is, even across millennia.
Exactly. And who knows what mysteries we'll uncover next time.